As a country, we have been the beneficiary of wonderful immigrants coming to this country, undoubtedly. But we have also been the victims of an unprecedented flood of illegal immigration and legal immigration that has been used to weaponize against the American people, against our very way of life. Donald Trump is the first president in American history to actually recognize the importance of our immigration system for good. The first president in American history to be committed to putting American citizens first when it comes to our immigration policies. And what do I mean? The headlines, you see the headlines, the border has been shut down. Deportations are happening. Immigration court dockets have decreased substantially. But what does all this mean? What's the relevance of all of these things that I'm saying? Well, let's talk about some of the false propositions, some of the false premises that we have all been told for decades. First, we were all sold a bill of goods that went as follows. Migration is an unstoppable force. Human beings are going to cross the southern border, and they are going to come here whether you like it or not. They're like migratory birds, and there's nothing you can do, but you can accept it. And we're all enriched because of it, because diversity is our greatest strength, or so we're told. It turns out, as we have seen for the last 7-8 months since Donald Trump took office, that is 100% a false proposition. You can seal the border, you can shut it down, and you can defend the sovereignty of your country. We have been also sold bills of goods on other issues, asylum. Everyone's here. They're seeking an asylum claim. They're fleeing persecution. Oh my God, you must let these folks into the country so that they can have their claim heard. Temporary protected status. Temporary. Oh, well, there was a hurricane in some banana republic 30 years ago. We're going to give them temporary residence in the United States. And it's only going to be for a little while until the conditions improve and they get better back home, and then everyone gets to go back. Parole in the last administration. Well, we're going to provide some lawful pathways, ways for people to come into the United States in an orderly process because our borders are just out of control. So instead, we're going to come up with some alternative pathways where we're going to allow people to go through an orderly process. And that's going to help reduce the burdens at the border. Unaccompanied children. We are going to stop human trafficking into the United States of minor children by setting up an entire scheme, an entire regime that is going to place them in the hands of Health and Human Services and then get placed in the United States. And then the last thing that I would point out is a bill of goods that we have been sold over the years is this notion that everybody needs their day in court. Every single illegal alien, every single alien who violates the terms of their admission deserves and is entitled to a day in court, as though it was the most important trial in the history of our country. There's a reason why we were sold these bills of goods. And there's a reason why every single one of them is completely and totally false. The left has used our empathy on a micro level to get you to a place of apathy on a macro level, to a point at which you shrug your shoulders. The average American sitting at home shrugs their shoulders. Well, I guess people are going to come. Migrant workers are going to come. Someone's got to pick the strawberries. I firmly reject the premise of all of the things that you just heard me say. And I also firmly reject the premise of all of these talking points and all of these arguments from the open borders advocates that we have heard for years. And I reject the premise because they're coming from people who believe in things that are completely contrary to what we believe in. People who reject the premise of this country, who reject the premise of the things that make us special, who view us as an economic zone and not a nation. We are, in fact, a nation. We are, in fact, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Apparently, some of our senators have forgotten that recently. If anyone caught Senator Kane's comments yesterday, it was pretty shocking for someone to come from the Commonwealth of Virginia and not recognize and understand the importance of that concept in the forming of our country and in the creation of our republic. Our Constitution begins with these words, right? We, the people. We are a people. We are a group of people, regardless of where we have come from, who are here, who are the citizenry, who believe, who have united around the idea that we have a constitution, we have values, we have laws, we believe in those things. We reject illegality. We reject things that are contrary to the values in the Constitution and the things that made this country great. That is what we do. Immigration can be used to benefit us, and it has. But as I started out my remarks today, it has absolutely been used to the detriment of this country, especially in the last 4 years. And you have to ask yourself why. Why does the other side believe in open borders? Why would they support these policies? It's not because they actually believe in some of the things that they're saying. Some of the less brighter bulbs in the box might actually believe some of the things that they're saying. But immigration is just one way in which the global left has used as a wedge, as a way to create fissures in American society, a way to advance and to build social pressures on the American people that allows the Marxists to continue to assert plausibly that there is in fact an inevitable class conflict that is going to bear itself out between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. And how do they do that? Well, they home prices. If you're a young person in the United States today, talk to any young person except for a few who are very fortunate. You're looking to buy a house. House prices are through the roof. Interest rates are not great. Now, they're better than what they were 30 years ago, 40 years ago, but with the price of a house, it's outrageous. Young people feel priced out of society. Jobs. We can't get young Americans into the jobs that they went to college for. And instead, we have many body shops that use and abuse our immigration system to bring in people who simply just have undergraduate bachelor's degrees from foreign countries to compete for jobs. Crime. medical systems. You create all of these pressures on society, and inevitably, you end up with people like what Steve was just talking about, Zoran Mamdani in New York. And you have people who were attracted to this ideology thinking there's no hope for them in America. There's no future for them in America. It must be the case that we have to support Marxist policies, socialist policies that lead us down the line, ultimately to their end goal. So what can we do about it today? I would say this. You can continue to support the efforts of this administration. Donald Trump, the greatest president in my lifetime, is doing more for the American people when it comes to immigration than anyone else has in history. His team is doing more for the American people than anyone else has done in American history when it comes to immigration. But that's a macro level, and that's kind of abstract. On the micro level, what are the things that you can do? You can reject the premise that you hear every time you hear one of these talking heads tell you one of these lines. Oh, diversity is our greatest strength. Why? Why? Why is diversity our greatest strength? Diversity can be great, but why is it our greatest strength? It's not. Our greatest strength is our unity. Our greatest strength is our belief in a constitution and a set of values that have made this the greatest country in the history of the world. That's what makes us great. A country that's built on Judeo-Christian values, that's what's made us great. Every time you hear someone say, well, who's going to pick the strawberries? Reject it. We heard a similar line a century and a half ago. Who's going to pick the cotton? Reject it. There are machines that can do these jobs. In the presence of this foreign labor, low skill, low wage labor is offsetting the ability of farmers to be able to invest in those machines. It reduces the incentives. There are ways to do things. You do not have to accept the destruction of your country and of your way of life so that you can pay 50 cents a bushel less for your strawberries at the grocery store. Reject the premise. Every time when someone tells you, well, we have to have different visa programs, we need the absolute best and brightest. Well, true. The absolute best and brightest can come, some of the best and brightest from different countries can come to the United States and benefit us, and we would all love that. But what happens with our visa programs? They don't bring in the best and brightest nearly all the time. They are being used to supplant and to subvert the wages and the employment prospects of American citizens across this country. If you had an actual legal immigration system that favored the American citizen first, that brought in people based solely on merit, I think we would have a completely different world today. A completely different worldview today, because we would have a country that focuses on the needs of its citizens and not on the needs of Marxists who are using every single tool at their disposal to undermine the foundation of this country. It has to be Marxism. It has to be those forces that are pushing to destroy this country, because that's the only way that you can explain a unity in position on the left between people who radically support open borders and the importation of people who have values completely contrary to those that we just discussed, at the same time that they're pushing radical transgender ideology in schools on our kids. It's not because they actually believe in some of these things. Some of them may do. But this is about creating fissures. This is about creating social pressures that are going to erode the foundation of this country, to cause you to doubt, to cause you to give up, and to cause you to despair. So what I ask for you today in closing is to not despair. Do not give up. There is no other country. This is it. This is all we have. Fight for this country. Fight for what made us great. Fight for the things that you believe in. Do not let the left use your micro-level empathy to turn into apathy. Do not let that happen. Do not let yourself be lectured by people who start their meetings with land acknowledgments, describing the horrors of being on the presence of stolen land, while at the same time not caring about the mass invasion of people into that same territory. They do not appreciate the hypocrisy of their position. Do not accept their lectures. Do not accept their lies. You know what's right. You know what's made this country great. You believe in our values. You believe in the Constitution. You believe in our founding principles. Never let anyone convince you otherwise. Never let anyone tell you that this is a fundamentally evil, bad, or destructive country. It's not. This is the greatest country we've ever had. It's the only thing that we have left. And immigration can either make us great, or it can be the destruction of this 250-year experiment. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.